I bet you own a pair of shoes that a doctor recommended, maybe a therapist, a trainer recommended, a friend talked you into it, and they told you these shoes would be great for walking, running, or whatever sport that you're in. And they will say to you, including the person at the shoe store, that the thicker soles cushion your feet, the arch supports prevent the arches from being sore, and the heel supports prevent your heels from being sore as well. In today's video, I'm going to dispel those myths, and by the time you're done listening to this video today, you may realize that the very shoes you were recommended to buy for your feet, your knees, your hip, your back, may be the exact reason you have those pains. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Muscle Repair Shop, and today we're going to talk about shoes, and more specifically what so many shoes that we're told are great for our feet actually won't do for our feet, and why they may actually be causing you pain that you're dealing with today. So let's talk about the shoes that people would recommend that I'm telling you may be causing your pain. Number one, they typically want, you see how the heel is built up here? They typically want to have padding in the heel because most of us believe we're supposed to walk heel to toe. Well, when you walk heel to toe, there's not much padding in the heel, so the heel pad there actually causes more pain in the heel. You'll see arch supports inside of the shoe as well. And the reason for that is that it protects and solves the pain in the arch as well. And then, most importantly, you see the shoe bends only at the toe. And so when that happens, the foot itself cannot bend. Today we're going to go a little bit in depth as to why these shoes do not really work for you. And I'm going to show you a shoe that will work for you. And then I'm going to have two videos listed in the information down below that you can follow up to see that it's just not my opinion. There's actually scientific proof of what I'm saying to you in this video today. Hello everyone, my name is Butch Phelps. I'm a functional massage therapist, health coach, and expert in aging sciences. And today I want to get right into what we're talking about because this is very important, and I see so many people who come to see me on a regular basis. It's their shoes. Sometimes it's popular shoes that they see their friends and everybody buying, and everybody swears by them as to why those shoes are great. And it sounds good on the surface, but the problem is when you understand how the foot works mechanically, you start to realize that the very shoes that all your friends are wearing that they think are great actually are not. And I always laugh when I see my clients' faces when I tell them that the shoes they're wearing is probably causing their pain. So let's go back and look at the shoe. Now this is just a casual dress shoe, but the same thing applies to so many athletic shoes as well. So when you look at a shoe like this doesn't have near as thick of a sole as a lot of the shoes that you see on the market today. Keep in mind that on the bottom of your feet you have 272 nerve endings. And so what happens is that when you have too thick of a sole, those nerve endings can't transmit signals back to the brain that shows a different gradation in the ground as you're moving along the way. So you then start to hit harder onto the ground as you're walking because you're trying to get some sensation back to the brain so that you don't fall down. And that's important because when those nerve endings on the bottom of your foot is what creates balance for you. It's what allows you to actually shift and change with the ground. Is it slightly fading to the right or fading to the left? Are you going uphill, downhill? The brain needs to be able to know that to fire the right muscles in your calves and in your feet to make that happen. Keep in mind, your feet have 29 muscles, 26 bones, and 33 articulations in your foot. And it needs to be as soft as the palm of your hand because when you stand, the foot itself is balancing all those muscles back and forth with your toes and also works in concert with your calves so that you don't fall down. But if you wear a shoe that the sole is too thick, the brain then can't get the messages from the bottom of your feet so that it can recalibrate those muscles so that you don't fall down because the gradation of the ground changed. Now I realize that so many of the ads for shoes talk about the softness of the soles and it feels like you're walking on air. The reality is you don't need to walk on air. What you need is to be able to feel the ground so that you don't fall down. The second thing is that if the shoe only bends up at the toe, imagine picturing someone's ankle or your ankle coming out with your leg coming up here. You see there's not much room for that ankle to bend. And so now what happens is that the foot starts to atrophy in those muscles. Again, going back to your balance as you're walking around, if the muscles in your feet start to atrophy, they can't work. And the chances of you having good balance is not very high. The second most common thing that people brag about in their shoes are the arch supports. They talk about how when they step barefoot to walk, especially on a hard surface, their arches may hurt. They may have flat arches. They may have high arches. And they believe that the arch support actually helps the arches in the foot. The thing is that when you're looking at a foot, keep in mind that every time you step down, that arch has to be able to expand, and the arch muscle, which is the plantar fascia muscle, commonly called plantar fasciitis, which is the inflammation of the plantar fascia muscle. So when this is working properly, it's like the shock absorbers in your car. And so when the arch can actually flatten out when you take a step, you can protect your knees, your hips, and even your back. When you have an arch support built up in your shoe or an orthotic built up in your shoe, that arch can no longer flex. And now when you hit on your heel, there's a tremendous amount of pressure going up through your body. So if you weigh 150, 200, 250 pounds, every step you take walking, then that amount of pressure comes up through the skeletal system of your body into your spine. What you want is to have the freedom and have that arch in your foot to be flexible enough that it can flex and absorb the impact on the ground and take some of that pressure off your joints and your spine. But when you have a buildup of an arch in your shoe, that eliminates that. Now, that muscle in there, yes, if you have flat arches, you can build those up, and I'm going to do another video on that later where we can use a hand towel and show you how to build up the arch strength in your feet. If you have high arches, chances are you've got very tight calves, and I can show you also with that in future videos of how to soften those calves and how to get those feet to literally come back a little flatter than what they were before. Now, the other thing that people brag about in the shoes are the heel cushions. Well, when you have a heel cushion, even one as small as this, which is about maybe an inch. Now, some shoes will have a couple of inches there, but when you have heel cushions like that, when you step down, you will step foot first and then the rest of the shoe comes down. Well, what happens is that when you do that, there's not much padding underneath the heel bone of your foot. And so when that heel hits, then there's not much there to prevent it from actually hurting the heel because you're literally driving the heel into the ground. But as you do that, the momentum of the body stops as it drives straight down versus having the foot to hit more on underneath the knuckle areas of the ball of the foot rather here, which is the knuckles of the foot. But instead of hitting here where the foot then can go back to, like I said before, the foot can start to flex back down. Now you get to use the muscles in your feet. So when you step, it's not a heel toe. Most people, and I always thought myself, most people think the heel toe is a natural movement. But the reality is we should be stepping straight out and landing and putting the pressure right at the ball of our feet. And then as you push off with the toes. And so again, we'll do future videos on walking correctly. I think I've got one already done on how to walk correctly that you can go back and see. But that's going to incorporate the thighs and the calves. But once you hit and you hit more at the ball of the foot versus the heel of the foot, now when you do that, the muscles in the foot can actually work properly and you can take off and go. So the real key here is that we want a shoe that's going to allow the foot to actually move properly and also allow the calves to be able to work with your foot as well. There is a way you can do that, and it's probably not going to make sense to you at first because everything you've heard in your life is going to go completely against the grain. But trust me, please come down into the description after this video. If you see this video, look at the scientific data on the foot and what they have to say about shoes as well, and you'll get a little clearer picture. So what does the correct shoe look like? So the correct shoe has virtually no support. There's no heel support. There's no arch support. You can literally bend this shoe just like that. Okay, that's a size 14 shoe you can bend in half. Why is that important? Well, as you can see, as my foot bends, you see my ankle now can bend coming out of that shoe. All the muscles in my feet can actually work. So the secret to this is that by being able to do that and keeping the muscles in my feet active and strong, just like every other muscle in our body, now when I stand up, I can stand up and have greater balance with that. I can walk further distances without my feet hurting. So much of why people have sore feet has a lot to do with their shoes, and the very shoes they're buying with all that padding is creating that. So I didn't want to make this a really long video, but keep in mind that as you don't try to go cold turkey, let's put it that way. If you try to go cold turkey and ship, when I did it, it took me about 2 weeks to be able to do that. Your feet, the arch of your foot should be as soft as the palm of your hands. You should be able to easily feel in between the bones on your feet so that your feet are soft. So take some time now, go down, click on the links below in the descriptions, and take a look at what the scientists, the research has to say about that. You'll be amazed at the differences of how your feet will feel once you change those shoes. So if you like what I've had to say today or any of these other videos, please subscribe down below, ring the bell, share it with your friends, and as always, please put comments at the end of this and let me hear from you what you think. If you like it, you don't like it, I'm here to help you. But for now, see ya.